What's up, guys? Sdotbell MMA here. I have the honor and the privilege to share this video with you guys. This is a talk I did last week on mental health, martial arts for mental health, and I'm really excited to share this with you guys. I was super nervous in the beginning, but I was happy that I could kind of loosen up after I got the same capoeira song. I get to share, my love for capoeira, for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and from mixed martial arts. And, kind of expose some people that may not have otherwise known about it. So it's really cool to get to share this. So you guys go ahead here and check it out. Thanks.
All right, so we actually want to show you guys how we can really combine mental health and then martial art. So please join me together, and then let's work on saying it.
Hi everybody, I'm really excited to be here today. I've never done a talk like this. I'm used to being in the gym, training, fighting, and all that stuff, and so this is a little bit new with me, so just for the time being, bear with me. But I'm really, really excited to be here today. So just a little bit about me. Go ahead and pull it up. So this is like my official story that I post everywhere that gives a little bit of background of who I am. But the real story is, I first came to China almost 6 years ago. I started out as an English teacher. I used to teach for Disney English. So I was singing the Hello song and playing with little kids and everything. And a year in, I hated living in China. I really hated it. It sucked for me. I didn't really speak Chinese. I had a shitty landlord, and I was ready to leave. I just didn't want to be here. And then I really thought to myself, I was like, I can't leave China and not get the full experience. And so I felt like I was losing at China. And so what I decided to do was I'll give it one more year. And then that year is where things really started to turn around and change for me. And one of the things that changed that for me was finding martial arts. So some of you guys talked about doing martial arts as a kid, karate. Did that when I was 8. Taekwondo, I did Taekwondo for 2 years. So I always wanted to train martial arts, and I really got the true opportunity to do that here in China. So I started out with capoeira, which I'll talk a little bit about today. And then I also found Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I ended up coming to find mixed martial arts. So that's what I do now. I'm actually a professional fighter now. And that all kind of stemmed from me taking that leap of faith to kind of stay in China. I said it was going to be 1 more year. 5 years later, it's 5 more years. But it's what kind of has really changed my life. Is how the best way I could put it. So this was me before. At one point in time, I used to weigh as heavy as 265 pounds. If you guys don't know what pounds is, that's 112 kg. 112 kg. So I was 26% body fat. And the thing was, I was really, really strong. I used to love just lifting weights, but I was I didn't do anything else. All I did was lift weights. So I was really strong, but I was really out of shape. And when I really started to take to it was when I took my martial arts training, my eating habits, and just my daily activities a little bit more serious. And then I kind of took myself to this point right here, where I was 9% body fat. I was 185 pounds or 84 kg. I was working out 6 or 7 times a week in martial arts training and lifting 3 to 4 times a week. So I was very serious, very big into my martial arts and my fitness training. Right now I'm kind of somewhere in between a couple of knee injuries and things like that. I'm kind of working my way back to this, but I'm trying to stay as far away from this as I can. What is capoeira? Can anybody tell me, does anybody know what capoeira is?
Like Brazilian dance fighting.
That is exactly what it is. It's Brazilian dance fighting. That is literally how the best way to describe it. There's no other way I can say it that's better. It's Brazilian dance fighting.
That's why she's not afraid.
Because she already knows how to do her
I can't do
Brazilian
it.
dance. But she knows what it is. All right, so capoeira. You got the next, yeah, boom. Capoeira. It's an Afro-Brazilian martial art. Yes, it is Brazilian. It incorporates dancing, acrobatics, kicks, takedowns, and things like that. And it also is truly an art form. So you can go ahead and show I have a little video here you guys can watch.
It is an Afro-Brazilian martial art. It could be up to 500 years old. It came from African slaves that went to Brazil and they wanted to train martial arts, but they wanted capoeira is the ultimate body expression. The mind is kind of like a game of chess, but you can express yourself with slow movements, fast movements. You can jump, you can kick. I mean, there's just so many different ways to express yourself in capoeira. So I think it's a beautiful art that everyone should give it a try. I create moves all the time where I fall on the ground. Yeah. The feeling you get when we're doing capoeira, we're really feeling that primal instinct because we're not working and moving as a two-legged animal, we're moving as a four-legged animal. So everything counts, including our elbows, our head, and more than that. So I love the beauty and the art of capoeira because I can work on different aspects of my character and my movement. The biggest message is being in tune with their body in a different way.
As we said. Cut it a little bit short. So I like that video because it's kind of short and it kind of gives an idea of what capoeira is. One thing I find that's really special about capoeira is that you can be any shape or size and do it. A lot of times people have this stereotype of capoeiristas or people that practice capoeira where they're like big giant Brazilian men that are super muscular, but if you look at the capoeira group that we have here in Guangzhou, it's men and women of all different shapes and sizes and cultures, and that's one of the things that makes capoeira really, really special. So capoeira for mental health. So again, one of the fourth one, that makes it really special is the four things: is the culture, the music, the community, and the history. So we got to the next one. The culture. Again, capoeira has rich Brazilian culture. There's a lot of different aspects to it. Again, it's still a martial art. So with that, there's we have belt systems. So this here is my porta for capoeira. I've been training capoeira again for over 5 years, almost 6 years now. And with capoeira, again, it's still treated like a martial art, but at the same time, there's the rich history of how it came about. Again, coming from slaves, and they used it as they hid the martial art within the music. Is basically what they did, and they took that and they used it as a way to rebel against slave masters and free themselves. And again, it's come to this point today where there's again over 500 years of history when it comes to capoeira. The music. One thing that again makes capoeira really, really special is that there's music. A lot of different martial arts, there isn't a musical aspect to it. I don't think there's many other martial arts that have musical aspects. So here are a few of the different instruments that we have here. The main instrument that we have for capoeira is called the berimbau. I wanted to bring mine here today, but mine broke, so I was really sad I couldn't bring it for you guys. I was going to play it for you guys. Then we have the pandeiro. I have my pandeiro here today, so I'm going to sing a song for you guys. I still will sing. We have the atabaque, which is a type of drum, and then we have the agogo. So these are some of the instruments that we use when we're playing capoeira. So what I'm going to do for you guys is I'm going to need your help. You're going to clap with me. All right, I'm going to show you guys the clapping rhythm, and then I'm going to sing a song for you. So it's just a 1, 2, 3 clap. You're just going to go 1, 2, 3. Good. Good. Yes, perfect. All right, the song is called Ahora Essa. So again, the music is a really big part of capoeira. It's really important to us. The community. So this is my capoeira family, my friends that again I've known for the better part of 5.5 years. Again, you see there's men, women of different sizes, shapes, cultures. We have people from all over the world that practice capoeira, and that's one of the aspects again that makes it really important to, I would say personally, to my mental health and to mental health in general, because you have that really strong community aspect. It's not like you're just going to practice a martial art. You're going there, you have your friends, you go there, you have a community, people that you feel connected to, that you can share your pains, your struggles, the same struggles that you're going through with training and doing all these difficult moves and things like that. And you have people who are there going through it with you that you build a bond. We're really like a family, which is, again, one of those things that I have back home, but it's like when you're away from your family and you don't have that family aspect, to have something like this, it's helped definitely fill a big void being out here by myself. And my Capoeira family has definitely helped me in the mental health aspect for me. And then again, the rich history. Again, there's over 500 years of history. Being a Black American, the slaves and all that history is very thick in our culture, and again, it's a big part of the Brazilian culture. And then for us practicing capoeira, it's like we're kind of bringing that culture, that history forward, which is really, really, really special to me. I don't know why it's black. Where'd it go? Yeah. Okay. Next is, can anybody tell me what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is? Does anybody know what BJJ is? Anybody? All right. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is. I feel like you hear all these martial arts, these Brazilian martial arts, and you might think I'm Brazilian at heart or something, or I'm half Brazilian or something like that. But I'm full-blooded American. So, but Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you can go to the next one. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu actually stems from judo and traditional Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. And the video, you can go to the next one, the video actually does a better job of explaining it.
So what is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Jiu-Jitsu is a grappling-based martial art and self-defense system created by Carlos and Hélio Gracie when they modified some techniques and philosophy of the traditional Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. Although Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu focuses primarily on grappling and more specifically on ground fighting, it is a comprehensive self-defense system that includes striking techniques, throws, stand-up techniques and strategies against surprising attacks. Like most martial arts, Jiu-Jitsu can also be practiced as a competitive sport. The rule set will vary from tournament to tournament, but generally, striking techniques are not allowed in sport Jiu-Jitsu, and you can practice it whether or not you are wearing its uniform, which is called ki or kimono. A legit Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt instructor should be well versed in all aspects of the art: ki, no ki, sport, and self-defense.
All right, so Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I actually found it when I was practicing capoeira at the same studio we used to be at. I was in capoeira class at the end, and I saw they had Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu classes, and I went crazy. I was like, I gotta do that. I want to try this, because I had never done anything like that before. I had seen some MMA stuff, and I saw they would do it there, and so I wanted to give it a try. And 4.5 years later, now I have my purple belt. So Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a little bit different from other martial arts because there's only 5 belts. So there's white, blue, purple, brown, and black. And each belt is definitely hard. It's hard fought. It's a very big struggle to earn and get these belts. And so when you get your blue belt, you're strong enough, you're skilled enough to handle most regular people in the world. Like you can handle yourself. And again, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is also a little bit different from other martial arts because there's a constant sparring aspect to it. So you're battle tested basically, where you are able to fully perform all the techniques or moves that you're going to be doing in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So as you can see here, I am a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is why you should not mess with me. But again, these belts are earned and not given. In certain martial arts, it's kind of just a time thing. You just go and you train, and they'll give you your next belt. With Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, if you can't perform the moves, if you can't show the techniques, if you're unable to do it, then you're not earning your belt, which is one of the things that makes it, especially in the mental aspect, it makes it a real, it's like chess. It's like human chess is the best way I could describe Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's like because you have this other person who is literally trying to contort you in all these crazy positions, and you're trying to do the same exact thing to them, and you're making this decision to do this willingly. Like you're willing. One of the funniest things I ever heard about it was calling it involuntary yoga. That's the best way I could describe Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, involuntary yoga. And for the mental health aspect, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, not as strongly as capoeira, but there is definitely that camaraderie and that community aspect. But the bigger thing is it's one of those things where you can go into it and you can kind of just let your worries from the day go and just focus. You have to really, again, mentally focus in and take the time to really solve. Like it's human problem solving. You're just sitting there trying to figure out this puzzle that is this other trained, skilled, jiu-jitsu player, and performing techniques. And then at the end of the day, you guys can still hug and bump fists, and then everything's okay. One really good video that I feel like explains it better than I can, which is why I'm using a lot of videos, because sometimes I can't express it as well myself. But if you guys have ever heard of Joe Rogan, he talks a little bit about why Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is awesome, again, for your mental health.
I think this new time that we live in, I just don't necessarily think the body understands where the stress is coming from. I think your body's a physical organism, and nature is an absolutely brutal thing. And it has been for us as well as for all these other animals forever. But now for us, it's not really that brutal anymore. And so all these mechanisms are in place to protect you, and they don't get served. And for me, martial arts has always been like the best one to deal with it. Oh, weightlifting is good too. Like a good kettlebell workout does it too. But like the big ones for me are jiu-jitsu and kickboxing. Because jiu-jitsu is really, really hard to do. And it's also, you are solving problems. So I think jiu-jitsu serves two purposes. It's incredibly grueling as far as like the sparring process of just rolling and and competing with each other, even in a friendly role, like with a guy that I really like, and we're laughing and we slap hands, every time someone gets tapped out or whatever. It's so difficult. Like your body's taxed so hard, and your mind is taxed because you're dealing with countering, you're dealing with setting up moves, you're thinking several steps ahead, and then you're adjusting those thoughts based on whatever this person that you're sparring with is doing too. So people get really, really addicted to jiu-jitsu for all the right reasons. And one of the things that I found is that jiu-jitsu people, like for the most part, are way more mellow than most people would expect. Like way more chill about stuff. Like way less likely to respond to something in a dumb or an imbalanced way, because whatever these requirements are that we're addressing, your body has all that in jiu-jitsu, but without the real violence. You know what I mean? Like no one's trying to kill you. They're just trying to do this thing to you, and you're trying to do that thing to them. And those things mimic actual combat, actual real life and death struggle in a friendly. And it has this camaraderie built into it too, because you kind of understand you're going through this incredibly intense thing together, and you also understand that it takes a unique person to go through that and get past all these psychological hurdles, all these physiological hurdles, and then you also are aware that this person understands, like really clearly, the kinship that you all share in having this experience together.
Yeah, so Joe, you can hold it. Yeah.
I think this new time that
that's good. So again, I feel like Joe really did a good job of explaining it better than I could, which is why I use that. But one of the things he talks about is, again, you're in there and you're really sitting there problem solving, and you've never really found yourself humbled until you've been, literally choked out by a woman that's half your size. And that will literally happen in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Again, when you have women and men that are, again, much smaller, but again, have been training much longer, you see how much skill is focused in on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And what really makes it, again, cool is like it was made for people who are literally smaller, weaker, not as athletic, to be able to tap out a bigger, stronger opponent. You could absolutely, which is why I'm talking about it today. So making sure you guys understand that jiu-jitsu is for everybody.
You're gonna teach me how to choke a man?
I'm literally gonna do that. At the end of this, that's literally what I'm gonna do. She's gonna try it on you. I will be showing you how to choke somebody out today.
Yay!
Yeah. All right, and then from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is where my true martial arts journey really started, and where I kind of moved to mixed martial arts. So what is mixed martial arts? MMA, can anybody tell me?
It's all of it.
It's everything, yes. We talked about a bunch of different martial arts. We talked about kickboxing, we talked about karate, we talked about even capoeira, we talked about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Taekwondo, boxing, all of these, wrestling, all of these coming together and kind of basically mixing and matching your martial arts skill to make essentially a complete fighter is what mixed martial arts is. It started out where it was just discipline versus discipline, but what people found was that that there was no one discipline that was above all. So having good stand-up or good striking, boxing, kickboxing, whatever, Muay Thai, whatever it may be, having good wrestling or takedowns, judo, or as well, and then again being able to grapple on the ground, whether it be some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or some Sambo or some other martial art. So this is where people kind of get a little scared or a little worried, because you understand that this is, again, an agreement for you and another man to go into a cage, lock yourselves in there, and beat each other up for 15 minutes or 25. So with mixed martial arts, again, it's full contact. Again, there's different aspects of it. For me, as a professional fighter, I took my first fight, and it was definitely an experience, and I'll tell you guys the actual story about it, because I took the fight on 5 hours notice, and from there is where I kind of made the decision that I was going to become a professional fighter, because I didn't see it before. Before that, again, I was teaching English. You know, in my mind, I was just going to be out here in China teaching English for a couple years and then move back to China. And now I'm literally, again, making the decision to walk into a cage and fight another man for 15 minutes and then say, all right, cool, at the end of that. So it's definitely an experience. It's definitely an experience. Oh yes, next one, sorry. Next one. So my first fight, I would love to tell you guys a story of my first fight, because the mental.
Is that you?
Yes, that is me.
Wow.
The mental aspect of this part is where things really get pretty crazy. So again, the gym I was training at, actually this gym right here, Crossfighter Academy, I no longer train there, but I was training there at the time. I was a freshly minted blue belt, just got my blue belt, was really excited, it was really awesome. And the owner of the gym comes to me, he's like, a week before, he's like, Sdotbell, do you want to fight, pro MMA fight? And I was like, sure, yeah, I'll do it. You know, it's extra money. I was like, oh, okay, cool, and then I could say I had the experience of fighting in an MMA fight. And then 3 days later, he comes to me and he's like, Sdotbell, you're not fighting anymore. The guy pulled out. The guy doesn't want to fight. I'm like, all right, cool. All right, I wish I could have done it. It's okay. 2 days later, the guy comes back. Sdotbell, do you still want to fight? Yes, I still want to fight. A day later, the fight's off. So again, this back and forth for the first week.
That was a mental fight.
Yeah, that was where I got literally mind fucked. That's literally what ended up happening. So then, again, I think I'm not fighting, so I decide, like I do so often, to go out and party, which is what I like to do, which is one of my really good friends. He knows that. So I go out and I come back, and the next day there's a seminar, a really cool seminar with a former UFC fighter who was also a really good black belt. He was doing a seminar, and then they come to me again 5 hours before the fight, and they say, Sdotbell, do you still want to fight? And so Sdotbell hung over in the middle of a seminar. I talked to the instructor, his name was Jan Cabral, and I go, Jan, what should I do? And Jan's Brazilian, and if you know anything about Brazilians, they're cool as the other side of the pillow. They're very much go with the flow a lot of the time. And so I say, Jan, should I take this fight? And he's like, yeah, man, go. Just go have some fun, So then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And so I go, and I take this fight right here 5 hours before, and I proceed to get my ass whooped. Which is okay.
I want to see the picture of that.
So I'll say this: the reason I got my ass whooped was, one, because I had no conditioning. I hadn't really been preparing. Usually for fights like this, you have anywhere from a month to 3 months to prepare for a fight, and to go in 5 hours before, my conditioning was nowhere near where it needed to be. Now again, at this time I had no real striking experience, but I had some, again, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I just got my blue belt. So in the first round, I did pretty good. I took him to the ground. I broke his nose, apparently, in the first round. So I was doing pretty good. But then by the second round, I had no energy left. And again, this is where the mental aspect of it comes in. And I remember this because I was thinking through it as it was happening. I was like, literally, I have no energy left in this fight to finish. And he gets behind me and he's trying to choke me, but he didn't really understand Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so he wasn't really choking me. And then beforehand, he had kind of elbowed me in the back of the head a couple times. And I remember my capoeira instructor, actually saw him in the picture. My capoeira instructor, he said, if at any point you feel unsafe, again, you're not really prepared in this situation, don't feel bad just saying, I don't want to continue. And usually in MMA fights, when somebody's elbowing you in the back of the head, the referee's supposed to say something, don't do that. The referee didn't say anything, so I was like, that's bad. So then as he's choking me, I was like, this looks like a good time. Just say, I don't want to do this anymore. I have a really good story to tell. So I ended up tapping out just to save myself. And I was like, oh, I still get paid for this. So it's again a pretty cool experience, And then I ended up, again, losing my first fight, but it was for me an amazing experience, one I'll never forget. And it's literally taken me on this next journey. But going into the fight, I want to talk about again the mental aspect of that. It was like, in that situation, again, understanding that you have an opponent that you're going to have to face, that you're in there with, it really kind of racks your brain. And I felt like at any point I could have like literally chickened out, but I was very, very proud of myself for really taking that commitment and that time to just say, I'm going to go through with this, I'm going to do this. And for a lot of people, especially if they know one side of you, they think they have one image of who you are as a person, right? Your friends may know, some people, for me, some people know me as the party guy. They only know me as the party guy. For some people, they know me as the MMA guy. I'm only the MMA guy. For some people, I'm only the English teacher, or I'm only the instructor. So there's these images or these thoughts that people have in their mind of you. And I felt like going into this was one of those experiences where I had an opportunity to kind of have a shift and kind of become who I want to be. And another reason why I chose to become a fighter professionally is also, I love, again, as you can see, I love different martial arts, and my true test as a martial artist, showing my skill set, being the best martial artist I can be. And I feel like MMA was like the best way to do that. It's like literally, if I can, go in there and win fights and show my skill set, it's like really proving something to myself, and proving something to my friends and my family as well. And also, there's a little story. So this video is a little bit longer, it's about 6 minutes, but it talks about another guy who took a fight but he trained for 4 months with no prior training. I at least had a little bit of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and maybe a tiny bit of Taekwondo, but this guy goes into a fight with literally no training, and I felt like it was I connected a lot with this, and again, it talks about the mental aspect. And I want you guys to pay attention in the video how his friends talk about him, and then how the instructors that he starts training with talks about him. Because it's very interesting to see, because it's like they're talking about two different people.
My name is Aria. I love romantic comedies, Christmas, and I will be dedicating the next 3 months of my life towards training in mixed martial arts before competing in an officially sanctioned fight against a trained, experienced opponent.
Is he really going to do that?
Why would he do that?
This is 3 months. Aria's training?
3 months is not a long time. 3 months of training before a fight is a very unrealistic timeline already. So this will be the biggest challenge of my life.
Are you going to be wearing confused?
No.
Aria, what are you thinking?
I don't know how this is gonna work for him.
I love Aria, but no. I will not be seeing it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see the fight.
I'm not very physically active. I don't think most people think of the word fighter when they think of me.
I don't know if Aria has ever been in a fight.
Aria told me that he was Buddhist.
I'm worried about it. I don't know if he's a fighter.
But what is a fighter? Because for me, this journey isn't just about trying to overcome the physical and mental challenges that I will be facing, but more so about trying to get inside the mindset of what it takes for those that actually do compete in one of the world's toughest sports.
A combat sport that allows its athletes to utilize a variety of fighting styles. Mixed martial arts continues to explode in popularity as fighters from all walks of life seek to test themselves inside the cage.
I think martial art can impact a lot of life because of peace.
What separates MMA from any other sport is that you're forced to deal with fear.
To compete in a mixed martial arts fight, the fact that Aria is doing that, first of all, I think takes a tremendous amount of courage. It's going to be a difficult process.
The biggest thing that's going to come is more of a mental issue. That's the biggest thing in fighting is your head.
How much sparring with other people in the school today?
As we're going to kind of increase the toughness training, sparring will probably be more of a factor.
Okay. Alright. No one's going to give you advice when you spar, and now they're going to fuck you up. You know, they're going to try to get you, they're going to try to tag you. They will tag you. They will tag you, right? Or they're going to get there pretty good. At that moment, it's going to be real. Like, the pain will be real, the shock will be real, everything will be real. And we're going to see in that moment, whether he still wants to do this or not.
He's bleeding already.
Oh.
I love you, Arya, but no.
He's fine. I don't think so. He's gonna say no. I'm just gonna go ahead and say no. I don't think he can fight someone.
He's too nice. I think that he's going to lose. I know that he's going to lose.
He's probably one of the softest people.
I honestly feel like he's just gonna go into the match and get hit like a couple times and be like, okay, that's cool, this is not a good video.
Every time he throws a punch, he's gonna apologize. I know he'll give it his all, but I think it might be a waste of time.
I get the impression that there's an underdog within you that is trying to prove something through this experience. And I'm wondering what that is.
When I think of MMA, I think it's these fighters are, these men and women. The courage it must take. The common thing that is brought up is always people saying, oh, you can't do this. You're too nice to be able to do this. And
And you want to be fearless.
yeah. I'm trying my best to just sort of focus on why I'm doing this. But at the same time, maybe all these people are right. Maybe I'm just not cut out for this.
I think you are putting a very hard timeline on yourself that's making your challenge greater than the average person. But is that a bad thing? Anytime anyone chooses the path less traveled, what you're going to get from the peanut gallery is, a bunch of doubt and negativity. Because most people, honestly, are afraid to take a road that's not been traveled beforehand.
Guys love to critique. You would never have even made it to the cage because the minute your hands started getting wrapped, your legs would get so weak that you would never make the walk from the dressing room to the cage.
In many ways, I kind of resent the notion that I'm a nice guy. I don't like that label. I like every day being friendly to people. I like greeting people, opening doors for them. But I don't like the idea that I'm incapable of switching that off.
The fact that Arya is such a nice guy is in no way, shape, or form related or connected to his ability to be successful in MMA.
I think the biggest myth is that we're all a bunch of meatheads that just want to punch each other in the face and we're all angry all the time.
Completely not the case. I think they're some of the nicest, most humble people on earth.
I think that true martial arts is humble. And I think one of the main reasons for that is you get your butt kicked a lot.
One of the things that keeps drawing me back to the sport, even as I'm trying to get out, is it's always really nice guys. Working with Arya so far, he's been a really nice guy.
Arya is really sweet, down to earth, humble. Now whether or not he can turn that switch on to being a fighter is, it's completely up to him. That's all I'm saying. Everyone has the capability of doing it. Whether or not you can do it in 3 months, I guess we'll see.
Help the kind of styles.
Failure is one of the best ways of learning something. And we're so fearful of it. I think in so many ways we create this false sense of security because of it. And we never take risks. We never take leaps of faith. And I think you look at the special people in this world, they're doing something different.
You're testing your own limits. You're going to be stretching the boundaries of your identity. And that's an amazing experience for anyone to be able to be aware of. You being accomplished, it's from the process and the journey, not the outcome.
So I felt like this video really did a good job of encompassing. I'll have links and everything to the full video so you guys can watch it. It's about 30 minutes long, where they take literally from not knowing anything to being in the cage and actually taking the fight. I don't want to spoil the ending for you, so I'll let you guys watch it for yourselves. But again, I feel like with all the martial arts that I talked about, BJJ, capoeira, and mixed martial arts in itself, there's always that deep mental aspect, and again, committing yourself to something where you're putting your body through it, but again, your mind through that test, as well as still having, again, the community, the camaraderie, the togetherness of the training, just that trade of mindsets, of intellect, of information, is important for my health. I know it's if it had not been for martial arts, I may not still be in China. and I wouldn't be where I am today, which is much further ahead than I was, again, 4 or 5 years ago, which is why it's so special to me, which is why I love sharing it with you. So that's it. Thank you. I want to say a big thank you to Tino and the Zocentive team for having me. Again, I've never done anything like this. It's like really exciting for me. I was like in my head, I kept telling my friends, it's like, I'm basically doing a TED Talk, you know? So I was like really excited about it. Thank you guys again. Thank you guys all for coming. So again, thank you to everybody. If you guys want to add me on WeChat, you can scan my QR code. Again, I have a group where you guys can find out a little bit more information about whether it be MMA classes, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or Capoeira. So if you're interested in that, you go ahead and scan those codes.
Okay, so right now is a great opportunity for questions and answers, Q&A. So feel free.
Go for it.
Sorry, I have 4 questions. If that's
Go for
all
it.
right.
Awesome.
I have one too.
Yeah. Go for it.
So, question number 1, my immediate question is, based on what visa are you here? How do you explain to the immigration office your reason for being in China? How they allow you being here?
Okay, so first, right now I'm on a tourist visa.
How do you explain to them that you're not like a national security?
Yeah. Well, one, like right now, currently, and probably for the better part of the past 6 months, I've literally just been training. I've just been training martial arts, and from time to time I may take an odd job here or there. But I'm on a tourist visa, and I act like a tourist. I party and I train most of the time, so it's pretty easy to explain to them when I come here. But I will be starting a new job, and I'll have a work visa. So even then, as I'll be on a work visa, and I'll still be training, so I can just tell them.
Oh, so it's like your hobby.
Yes.
So it's self-free.
Yeah. So it's okay that I'm not a security risk. I'm not a terrorist.
No, I didn't mean that. I was just like wondering, because you're describing yourself as a very professional fighter.
Yes.
And then I'm like, how do you explain to your immigration?
To them, it's a hobby. To me, it's fun. It's the best way I can do it.
Best way, yeah.
Yeah. That's what it is. Yeah. Second question.
Yeah, second question about your medical insurance. Who pays for it?
I pay for it. For right now, actually, my new job will have medical insurance. These are very good questions. That people need answers to. You got insurance? No, I don't. But at the time, I have right now. The reason why I don't have like a fight lined up is because I went through 4 partial knee tears, complete and partial knee tears, and at the time I didn't have insurance, and so I had to kind of on my own recover. Then I had insurance, I got the necessary MRIs and some of the treatment that I needed, but it's still a recovery process for me. With my new job, I will have insurance, which is again will restart the recovery process so that I can take more fights right now. So.
And yeah, question number 3 actually is connected to getting hurt. So even though you get hurt, and you know those noses which were like really ugly in the video, that like why? Well, luckily you still you look still intact.
Yeah, I'm still intact. One, the style.
Why do you do that?
Okay, so this is a great question. So again, I love showing my skill as a martial artist. And the better you are at martial arts, the better you can keep your face intact. So for me, with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, there's no strikes in it. In Capoeira, again, it's a lot of flow movements. So if you're moving the right way, you're not getting hit in the face. And then with mixed martial arts, where you're really going to take most of the damage, because again, people will be punching you, kicking you. It's again the style of fighter that you are. So there's. This is actually, I love this question because there's a few different types of fighters that I like to talk about a lot of times. So there's what I would call a brawler. The brawlers are the ones who usually like to look that way with the crunched up nose and the bloody faces. There's what I call the martial artist, and then the competitor. So I would say I'm a cross between a competitor and a martial artist. So I always try to understand the rule set of whatever martial art event I'm in, so I know how to win. And then again, I'm practicing for the martial arts aspect. And again, I like staying pretty. So the style of fighting that I do is usually about taking a guy to the ground or staying on the outside and picking my shots as opposed to just going in there and just swinging for the fences. I mean, I can, and a lot of time it'll work out for me, but sometimes it won't, and I don't want to take that chance. So that's why I'm so pretty still.
Question number 4. I have a 2-year-old son, and he's super active, and he likes to pretend that he's a soldier, you know, chasing chasing my daughter around. Actually, I know about the guy. Like what I'm asking is because I know about the guy who. Well, he claims that he accepts kids for capoeira starting from the age of 2, so which is my son is. But I cannot get my head around how can you train 2-year-olds. So what is the age which you would recommend? Because I do want to be able to get my son trained, but like I cannot get imagine like a 2-year-old.
Awesome question. In the early phases of it, when we're teaching kids capoeira, again, it's more about getting them used to being able to use their body for building fine motor skills. Like in capoeira, one of the things that again makes it a little bit different from other martial arts is that you're constantly moving. Even just learning the basics, I'll kind of show you guys up there if you want a little bit more of it. Again, building the fine motor skills you need for actual capoeira, that's not going to happen until he's 3, 4, 5 years old. But at 2, we're going to be doing things where he's going to be using his body, tumbling and things like that, where he builds those motor skills, and then from there we actually start teaching him capoeira. So 2 is okay. Again, obviously 2-year-olds, their attention span is like 30 seconds, so it's in small spurts, but we have classes where we do teach that as well. So, I mean, for them, it's possible, but again, it's not, we're not teaching them, how to do, cartwheels and kicks and everything capoeira right away. At first, it's again, building the fine motor skills because it's pretty small, and then as they start to get a little bit more functional at these basic movements, we start teaching them capoeira. Yep, makes sense. All right, somebody else have a question?
Hi. I remember when I was like in my early 20s, about 20, and I took judo. And at that time, I'm quite a bit older than that now, but I remember did it, and I remember sparring, and there was like a sense of like, kind of like a thirst. When it comes to adrenaline, how does that affect your mental state?
Well,
because it certainly did.
This is awesome. This is a really, really good question, especially because as it relates to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because it stems from judo. A lot of the time in tournaments we're starting standing, so there's that aspect of it. One of the things you learn in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is staying calm under pressure. That's a part of it. It's like for me, as a fighter as well, when you see me in the cage, I look the same way that I do in sparring because I'm a very, very calm person. I'm energetic, but I tend to stay pretty calm in that situation so that because the biggest thing for you when you're fighting is being relaxed. Some people, they do well when they're tense, but for most people that doesn't work. So focusing on staying relaxed, especially in jiu-jitsu, because again, you have another person that's literally trying to choke you, or if you don't tap, break your arm. So being calm, being relaxed in those situations, and understanding the flow, or again, being able to use their body against them, or use leverage and technique, helps you stay calm in those situations. In the early phases, obviously it's much harder to do that because you're not used to it. One phrase we have in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is what we call spazzy white belts. Again, for the first time a person tries it out, and they're like, oh, you're not going to do that to me, and then they start going crazy because the adrenaline kicks in, because they're like, yo, why is this person able to just hold me down and choke me against my will? And again, understanding that, relaxing, focusing on your breathing and those aspects make it better, then the adrenaline starts to stop affecting you as well.
But can I also, you're talking about it more in a negative way, but is there also a positive?
A positive aspect, absolutely. Like the adrenaline pump of like just being in a fight situation and then kind of using it to, yes, absolutely. For me, in some situations, certain sparring and training, it definitely does kick in, and there's definitely a positive aspect to it. But again, for me, being more relaxed and being calm under pressure, so that you're not, jumpy or too crazy, or you don't kind of jump in there because you're thinking in a fight or flight type of situation, is a lot better than just kind of full on adrenaline, just Superman punches. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like in the videos, they were talking about he didn't want to be Mr. Nice Guy, like opening doors. He's tapping into another side of self. So is the other side of self that most fighters tap into aggression and like animalistic and unsocietal behaviors to suppress?
For some fighters, that is absolutely what they do. You're absolutely right. But again, which is why I kind of laid it out, the type of fighter that you are. Like when I go in the cage, I understand that I'm going to dismantle you. that's what's going to happen.
Which type of fighter is the most effective / scary?
The most, again, I would think the scariest person is a person who, with complete calmness and coolness, can fuck you up. That's just my opinion.
You don't think the person that needs to be let in shackles in a paper bag and then released only when they're in the ring because they're wild animals, that's not scary?
So if they lose, how scary are they?
But they're probably not going to lose.
A lot of fighters who are that scary guy lose fights. There's very little undefeated fighters. There's very few undefeated fighters. And if you look at some of the best fighters, so the UFC is the premier organization for mixed martial arts. And if you look at all the champions, if you listen to them speak, they're some of the nicest, most humble, relaxed guys. Again, in MMA, there are these guys that are like these killers who talk about, I'm gonna get in there, I'm gonna break his face. And I mean, if that what gets you motivated, that what makes you, want to fight, then do that. But for me, I go in there understanding that I'm technically more skilled than you. I've trained harder than you. I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna choke you out, and then I'm gonna go about my business.
The killer has the technical skills equal to the calm guy. Who will win?
The calm guy.
Really?
Yep. Because the thing is,
for me. This is not for me.
Because and the reason I say that is because again, when you're too tense is when bad things start to happen. When you're in especially in a cage or when you're training jiu-jitsu or whatever martial arts you're in, being able to relax more allows you to be able to do much more with your body. Because when you're too tense, you're too expectant. A lot of bad things start to happen.
Is it relaxation, the confidence you were talking about in the beginning of the speech?
Yeah. For me,
able to push the big guy aside.
Yeah, a little bit of it. Yeah, but there's that aspect of it, but also understanding that you can be beat, but at the same time you are still trained. You understand that you don't have to just fight. Because a lot of people feel like they're proving something by just being a fighter, or they have to brag about it all the time. Like again, a lot of people don't know that I'm a fighter. To some people, I just like to party. That's who I am to a lot of people, and that's okay. But again, I have this other side of me that I tap into regularly because for me, it's something I'm very passionate about, something I love. I'm okay with that. Now again, some people, it's about the aggression. It's about being able to just, punch somebody in the face and choke somebody out, and that's okay. And if that's what motivates you, that's perfectly fine. But for me, it's not necessarily how I go about it. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Awesome. Any other questions? Yes.
So I would like to ask, right now you have you're a good fighter. So is it ever on the street? Do you ever fight on the street?
So I like to say that I don't like fighting unless it's for money in a cage. But I have been living in China. Yes, living in China, I have been, especially earlier in my martial arts days when I wasn't as well trained. I got into a few different situations where I was led to blows. Nothing too crazy, but obviously it can get a little hectic. What I tend to do is I try to diffuse the situation as much as possible. Like if you can get my two best friends right here, you can ask them. I've literally tried to I back up. I try to diffuse the situation, especially if there's someone that's particularly aggressive, because I understand one, there's no reason to fight. Two, a lot of the time, if I don't want to be, again, create a bigger situation than it has to be. I'll concede. My ego's not that big. I'll just say, okay, you got it. But sometimes some people, they like to push the limits, test it. For those people, I have what I call a 3 strikes rule. If I back up 3 times and I say I'm sorry and I apologize and you keep coming towards you, I'm gonna slap you. I'm not gonna punch you because punching, I'm gonna slap you. Okay? And the thing is, usually I had to do this twice. Both times, it ended the situation completely and everything was cool. So.
Did you have to take your glove off first?
It wasn't open, just nice clean. Sir. But again, depending on how hard the smack is, it might make you want to stop. Yeah. So other than that, I try not to fight out in the streets at all. I try to avoid all situations. Awesome question.
Oh, one more.
Sure.
So it's related to the other question. So when you have more ability, would you feel like you can protect more people? Like let's say you see someone crying on the street, would you feel like you should step
feel more obligated to get involved? If there's a situation where I see something is actually going wrong, part of me just my nature would be to try to step in and say something about it or try to diffuse the situation, and then understanding that I'm trained, it would affect how I go into the situation. Obviously understanding that I want to go in, again, as calm as possible, not too aggressive, not in shackles. And then also understand, just try to diffuse the situation, because a lot of times what people tend to do is escalate a situation and things get blown out of proportion. Like, hey, what's going on here? But if you can go into the situation in a calmer manner, it can usually, you have people kind of come down to your calmness as opposed to going up to whatever yelling level that they're at. Does that make sense? Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, do you study your opponents?
Yes, absolutely. If I'm in a jiu-jitsu match or if I'm doing MMA, for me, I like to say I'm a very cerebral fighter. Like for me, it's mental, especially being kind of injured right now. I can't train as much, so I can break down an opponent and just every aspect of their fighting style.
Study their weaknesses.
Yeah, study their weaknesses and even their strengths, what they're good at, and being able to stay away from that. And then obviously where my skill set is gonna beat their, counter their skills. And so for me, that's the test of a really, really good martial artist and a fighter is a person that, again, is studying their opponents and understanding what they're doing. Go for it.
So does that include Facebook stalking?
Possibly, but
for research, you gotta research your opponent of all their weaknesses.
If they have a Facebook, yeah, I mean you can go for that.
Let's do that first.
Maybe YouTube.
Find out
their fights, but I don't know. Maybe Facebook will work.
Instagram is more useful.
Yes, exactly. Because they're showing their training videos. I like, there you go.
I gave you a new strategy.
Thank you. I now am a better fighter now because of it. Thank you.
So let's take last question before we do the demo.
Yeah, sure.
What exercises do we need to work on this?
Well, these martial arts in themselves is exercise. And so the thing is, when you're training, you're putting your body through a lot of physically taxing. Capoeira and jiu-jitsu are amazing cardio. So is mixed martial arts. If you just go into a ring with somebody who's even partially trained for 3 minutes, and you'll be out of breath because of the conditioning that it takes, understanding that aspect of it. But for me, because I love training and I love working out, I do both. But you don't need to have any prior training or prior exercise. Okay, you can just kind of do it. All right.
Can I add that? I mean, you can't do just a few minutes of exercise for a week. How long did it take you to reach your mental state?
Where I'm at right now, again, I've been training for the better part of 5.5 years, so 5.5 years.
Yeah. So it won't happen overnight.
Yeah, it takes time, obviously. But one thing I would say is just definitely keep coming back. Keep coming back whenever you're training. Yeah. Cool.
All right, so I said last question, but I have a question.
Go ahead.
So basically, when you say martial art, we always think about dudes, right? So why do ladies here need to do martial art?
I think again, martial arts is awesome for everybody to train again because obviously the health aspect of it, the health benefits, obviously understanding it helps with build confidence. Again, that mental aspect is really important. Feeling more comfortable and confident in yourself because you understand that you can be in a situation where you're by yourself and defend yourself if need be is a good thing to have for women. I think it's very important. And then again, it's just there's that camaraderie and that community aspect that a lot of these different martial arts have that again help, sometimes it's something to look forward to or helps you get through the day because you have those people that the troubles of the day is going to kind of melt away and you have some place you can go and train and push yourself. So, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to show you guys a couple techniques if I can. Anybody? Everybody say, he's a big guy. Yeah, come on, I'm not going to kick your ass. It's going to be very simple. All right? Just stay off this way. That's the first thing I'm going to go towards. So when I'm teaching martial arts, the first thing I teach people is also the most important thing is managing distance. So for me, what you can do is just put your hand out. All right, so we call this the green zone. So with the green zone, he can't hit me, I can't hit him. This is good. This right here is the red zone. Why do you think it's called the red zone? Exactly. That is why, because he can hit me, I can hit him. And this is where, again, the brawlers like to stay. Now, there's a second green zone, and that second green zone is right here. right? Being clenched up right here. So what I'm going to show you guys first, and just hugging a baby. So what I'm going to show you guys is a very basic takedown, and I'll be gentle. And that's again good for and most of you can pull this particular takedown off, especially in a situation where you feel kind of danger. Again, if someone's kind of closing the distance on you, so say he's coming towards me, one thing you want to do is also make sure that you don't put your feet like this, because then you start to lose your balance. What you want to do is you always want to keep your base here and always back up like this when somebody's coming towards you. And if they close that distance, so for example, say he's coming towards me, if I can't keep the distance, as soon as I realize he's getting into the red zone, so if he comes in again, I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to put my head to his chest, my hands right here, I'm going to come here, and then I'm going to start to take him down. Now, most of you, again, if you pull this up, women tend to have lower bases, so it's actually a really good technique for women to learn, because again, what you're doing here is you have the head right here, you get your hands down to the waist, and then you start to push your head, you start to take away his base because your head, and then you start to push it in here, and you see how his body kind of folds down, right? Okay, cool, so ladies, that's my technique, all right, cool? Ladies, somebody want to try it out? Emily? Yeah! Come on, let's try it. All right, so again, all right, so what you want to do is again, when you feel like you can't really back up anymore, your focus is going to be on closing the distance on me. Again, keeping a low base, your head to my chest, your hands to my waist, pulling in at my waist, and then pushing your head. You're going to be doing it. Yeah, so I'm coming for you here. I'm running in here. Once you feel like you can't back up, you give me a big old hug. So you come in, give me a big old hug, and I can drop your hands forward, right there, and your head, push it right in the middle of my chest, and you start pushing. Keep pushing like you. There you go. Exactly. All right. So technique of the day. All right. Thank you guys. Cool. Yeah.
Show some capoeira.
Oh, you guys want to see a little bit of All right, so with capoeira, what makes it again special is the constant movement. With capoeira, this is our basis called the jenga. So from here we have all our kicks, our special moves from here. So we throw a lot of kicks from there, here, here, and we're doing a little bit of acrobatics. I'm injured right now, so I'm not trying to go too crazy. It's a little capoeira. Thank you. Thank you guys again for watching my video. If you enjoyed it, please like the video, subscribe. If you want to see more of my videos, you can check me out on social media at Sdotbell on Instagram, Sdotbell MMA on Twitter, Facebook.com/Sdotbell MMA. Thank you guys again. Peace.